Trump's tariffs, squeezing U.S. factories and boosting costs by 4.5%. The repercussions of President Trump's tariff hikes are looming large, potentially squeezing U.S. factories and escalating costs by a staggering 4.5%. This could spell trouble for the domestic manufacturing sector, which is heavily reliant on global supply chains. A recent analysis suggests that factory costs could inflate by a significant 2% to 4.5%, a scenario that could lead to wage stagnation, layoffs, and even plant closures for firms operating on slim profit margins. Chris Bangert-Drowns, a researcher at the Washington Center for Equitable Growth, who conducted the analysis, warns that these seemingly minor changes could have a significant impact on the financial health of many firms. The analysis, released on Tuesday, highlights the challenges Trump may face in selling his tariffs to the public as a broad political and economic win, rather than just a demonstration of his negotiating prowess. The success of Trump's policies hinges on whether everyday Americans become wealthier and factory towns experience a revival, a goal that outside economists doubt can be achieved through tariffs. Trump has announced new trade frameworks with the European Union, Japan, the Philippines, Indonesia, and Britain, all of which would increase the import taxes charged by the United States. He is also poised to impose tariffs on goods from dozens of other countries, with rates ranging from 15% to 50%. The U.S. stock market has shown relief that the tariff rates are not as high as initially threatened by Trump in April, and there is hope for a sense of stability in the future. Trump maintains that tariff revenues will help reduce the budget deficit and stimulate domestic factory jobs, downplaying the risks of higher prices. However, there is a possibility of backlash in the form of higher prices and slower growth once tariffs fully permeate the global economy. A June survey by the Atlanta Federal Reserve indicated that companies would, on average, pass half of their tariff costs on to U.S. consumers through higher prices. Labor Department data reveals that America lost 14,000 manufacturing jobs after Trump rolled out his April tariffs, putting pressure on whether a rebound will start in the June employment report. The Washington Center for Equitable Growth's analysis reveals the potential economic and political costs of Trump's tariff obsession for his agenda. In swing states like Michigan and Wisconsin, more than 1 in 5 jobs are in critical sectors such as manufacturing, construction, mining, and oil drilling and maintenance, which are highly exposed to his import taxes. The artificial intelligence sector, which Trump recently hailed as the future of the economy, is also dependent on imports. More than 20% of the inputs for computer and electronics manufacturing are imported, meaning the tariffs could ultimately inflate the multitrillion-dollar price tag for building out the technology in the U.S. The White House argues that American businesses will gain access to new markets due to the trade frameworks, claiming that companies will ultimately benefit. However, the legal basis of the tariffs as an emergency act is currently under review by a U.S. appeals court. The Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, stated in an interview last week on Fox Business Network's Kudlow show that countries are essentially accepting the tariffs to maintain access to the U.S. market. But what Bessent did not mention is that U.S. manufacturers are also bearing much of the cost. Justin Johnson, president of Jordan Manufacturing Company in Belding, Michigan, northeast of Grand Rapids, feels the pinch. His company, which makes parts used by Amazon warehouses, auto companies, and aerospace firms, has seen the price of a key raw material, steel coil, rise by 5% to 10% this year. Trump's 50% tariffs on imported steel and aluminum have allowed domestic U.S. steelmakers to hike prices by crippling foreign competition. Johnson doesn't blame them, acknowledging that there's no red-blooded capitalist who isn't going to raise his prices under such circumstances. But here's where it gets controversial. Are these tariffs truly benefiting American businesses, or are they merely causing more harm than good? And this is the part most people miss: the complex interplay between domestic and foreign markets, and how tariffs can have unintended consequences. What are your thoughts on this? Do you agree with Trump's tariff policies, or do you think they could have detrimental effects on the U.S. economy? Share your views in the comments below.